Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Tom Stewart here. I'm with Liz Trotter, and our guest today is Melody Edwards, and this is Smart Business Moves.
Hey, y'all.
Hi, thanks for having me today.
Hey, thanks for coming, Melody.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I think this is a first because Melody and I first met like 5 minutes ago,
hmm
and neither one of us know anything about the other.
Yeah, I,
And
I think you're right. I don't remember us ever being in a situation where you didn't know the guest at all.
I love
uh,
this.
I
yeah,
know.
so I'm going to be taking notes because I'm a member of the audience today. I'm
Well,
Yeah,
gonna go I'm gonna go make some popcorn.
too late, Tom, too late. I should
yeah,
have already gotten that done. Huh. So, I guess I'll kind of lead us a little bit since Tom doesn't know anything about anything.
You
Melody,
can stop. I just don't know anything.
yeah. Well, just about Melody.
we're
Right?
twins, Tom. It's okay.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah, she doesn't know. So that's another thing, right? I don't think we've ever had a guest on that didn't know who Tom was.
I
Like,
love this
you've
because now
never
you
heard of
will
him, right?
remember me, Tom, because I was the first guest that you didn't know anything about, and I didn't know anything about you.
So
Yeah.
there's that, and you live in Massachusetts. Liz
Yeah,
will tell you. I will never forget that. We'll have a discussion where we
Yes.
talk. Remember the guest that we had that we didn't know each other, and she's from Massachusetts. What's her name? I have no idea.
it's okay.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
cool with that. I'm giving you permission to not remember my name, even though it's melody like music.
Okay, that'll help. That'll help.
That will. That actually, I can see you remembering that, Tom. Melody, the music from Massachusetts. Oh my gosh, get a
M's.
little alliteration in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, so let me give you a quick rundown of who Tom is. Actually, Tom, why don't you give Melody just a quick rundown of who you are?
I've been in
Just
the
in
house
brief.
cleaning business for a few years and know a few people. And Liz and I do this thing called Smart Business Moves.
All
So
right. You may have heard of a couple of things that he's connected to. Have you ever heard of Castle Keepers Cleaning?
yes, I think
Okay.
I have.
So that's his company. He owns
Okay.
Castle Keepers. He has a partner in I think at least one of the branches, and then he's run Castle Keepers for how many years now, Tom? Few decades, three.
30th. This is our 30th year.
30th anniversary. So been around for a while. And then I think what he does now that is much bigger, most people know him for this is software program called Made Central.
Of course. I'm literally today was training one of my VAs to help her on board with Made Central. So
Well,
Tom
this
created Made
if
Central.
you have any questions, just hit me up. I can
so
help
many
you with
questions,
anything.
but this is great. So now you don't need to I don't need to know you, Tom. I know who you are now.
Now you know him, right?
Now I
Yeah.
know everything about you just from that one thing.
Yeah. I know. It's like, oh, okay. Now
Yes.
I got it. I know. That's why I mentioned the Castle Keepers thing first, because I knew
Oh
it would
yeah.
get lost in the fray there.
hmm
All right. So now that you know, hey Denise, good to see you. And I know Denise knows you, Melody.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Denise.
So why don't you go ahead and tell our audience a little bit about you, Melody?
Okay, I'd love to. So I started in a very weird way. I've always been in home service, which is like window cleaning, house washing, all the things about exterior cleaning and all the weird stuff. And I started accidentally when I was 17, and I was saving money for a trip to Europe, and I hated it. Thought it was not what I wanted to do. I wanted to work in an office and wear nice clothes and be on a computer like professional people do. And then I kept going back to window cleaning. So I went to Europe on my trip. I came back. I went back to window cleaning. I learned that I really like working with my hands. Eventually, I bought that company
Oh,
and I sold it, started another one. I've had a coffee shop. And I'll just say this, I'm a business starter. I love starting businesses. I love the hardest part, which is the starting and getting things off the ground. And then I get bored with the scaling part of it. And so I have this habit of selling my businesses to oftentimes employees. But I also had a holiday lights company, a commercial holiday lights company that I just sold. And I have home service VA, which I started with my first virtual assistant, Dean, who is now my business partner. And we help people in home service, in cleaning, in all industries, plumbing, electric, and other, like any business basically, or coach or professional, find and match people with great virtual assistants from the Philippines, which is where I work from, because that's where Dean lives. And we train the VAs and the clients how to work together. I'm very much about communication, and I think it's so important that we compress the amount of time it takes to develop a trusting relationship with the VA and the client, because that's going to get you moving forward really fast. And one more thing I want to say, one of my first businesses I ever started actually was an errand service. But what it turned into very quickly was a house cleaning business, because it was called the Runaround Errand Service. And literally I'd do anything. This was like 25 years ago, maybe. And everybody wanted their house cleaned.
Huh.
So I do have a background in house cleaning. My parents owned an inn, and they were very OCD about cleaning. So I grew up like that, and I rebel against it to this day. But I like to clean house. I just don't like to do that part of it. So that's kind of like everything. There's so many things. But my area that I really focus on and love, because I'm very purpose driven, as I was just talking about, I love helping people. I love helping people find better ways to get great employees. I'm very good at that. And I love helping people with communication, understanding, there's different learning styles. There's different ways that we even advertise to find the right people. You can do, and I love helping people build culture. So a lot around employees and building relationships with people. And I love system building. I do not follow systems, though, that I build. I build them for other people.
Okay, so that's interesting. You build systems for other people to use, and then you don't follow them. Oh,
No,
that's because your whole building thing. You like to build and then sell.
yes.
So systems you build and then push off.
I think what I've realized is I was diagnosed with ADD when I was 30 as an adult. And the reason that I even bothered to do that was because I was in college trying to finish it up for the 50th time. And my doctor finally said, I think that if you were anybody else, I wouldn't say to do this as an adult, but you want to get stuff done, you need to go to this psychologist who diagnoses people. And I knew I had a learning disability. Well, I found out this, and it completely changed my life, because everything I had thought about myself up to that point was based on failure. Like, I'm trying so hard, but I keep failing. I'm doing all the right things, but I keep failing. And what I realized at that point is if I wanted to be successful, I couldn't play the game the way everybody else was playing it. I needed to do it the way that my brain worked. And that's kind of how I came to the VA business. Is really, I learned that I need an executive assistant, somebody who is going to be my executive functioning skills, the things that I lack. I'm very good at detail. I can hyper focus. I can build things, but the day-to-day stuff is really, really hard for me. And I train people how to work with people like me, which is a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs. Yes.
Yeah, a lot of business owners. So one of the things you said when you first came on was that you're training somebody today to how to do, say, Made Central. So I'm guessing you have
Yes.
a business owner that uses Made Central. And
Oh, yes. Amy and Rose have been patiently waiting.
oh my gosh, we haven't heard about Amy and Rose in so long, Tom.
Really? Yes, they are fantastic. So we just started, we were only a recruiting company up until recently, and we just transitioned to an agency. My theory was, when we started 3 years ago plus, was that I wanted to get the systems as good as we could. I didn't want to fail anybody. That's like my greatest fear, right? We fear failure and letting people down. And over the past 3 years, we have continuously recreated the system, made it better. And finally, I realized we just have to do the switch. There were some things, it was just time. And so they became our very first agency clients. And the great thing about them is they are the exact person, the exact kind of company I want to work with. They care about living wages for their people. They care about what their VA is going to get. They care about the things that we care about in our company. They also care about. And they have been extremely patient as we've been figuring it out. And I've been training their VA this week with 4 other women, VAs. And she's fantastic. I'm so excited for them. She's going to go into there and just kind of take over essentially. Like I see it in her. It's amazing. So I'm excited for them.
All right. So I liked what you said, that they are exactly the kind of people that you want to work with, right?
Yeah.
I, tell us a little bit more about that. Who do
Yeah,
you want to work with?
am I, yeah, we're all sitting here wondering if we're
Am
qualified.
I one of those people? Yeah.
Oh no. Well, so the very first thing that I keep to is we have a no jerk policy. We don't want to work with jerks for clients. I know that some people love it, no, but that's really something I want to actually put on my website, because I think it's important that people understand like the standard of what we're willing to deal with. Now, we've never really had a jerk that we've worked with, maybe one time in all of the hundreds of people we've worked with. And it wasn't that it's just about treating people with respect and understanding that you're hiring a human being. You're not hiring a robot. You're hiring somebody who needs to be a part of your team. So yeah, go ahead, Tom. I'm
How
sorry.
long have you been doing this?
So professionally through the business, a little over 3 years, but
3 years and only one jerk?
yes, because I really work hard. It's all been word of mouth as much as we can. I'm really good at connecting and being a community builder, like I said. And so, and helping people. And so when you do a good job for people, they tell other people. And that's how the business has been built. We didn't start digitally marketing until like a month ago.
Well, you're going to be overwhelmed with new business
I
after
hope
doing
so.
this.
I'm not ready, but I hope so, because here's the thing that I understand is I wish that I had grown up in the maid service industry. When I talk to, or the cleaning industry, when I talk to my friends in the cleaning business, like Robin Murphy is another friend who is just so brilliant and just kind of like me, and like just a lot going on in her
Yeah, a
brain.
lot going on. Yeah.
Yeah. And she doesn't believe me when I say how hard my journey has been, because it's so male dominated. I'm a unicorn in home service. I was a window cleaner starting 30 years ago. So I did something that most people have never done. And as a woman who owns a window cleaning company, I can count on my hands how many women, it's more now, but how many that I've known who, not like a husband-wife team where they stay in the office. I mean, somebody who's really out in the field. So in that regard, I had a house washing company, Holiday Lights. I'm boom lift certified. Like I'm doing all the things, but to get credibility in that industry has been extremely hard. Whereas the women that I meet and the men that I meet in cleaning, it's like it's a different space. So cleaning companies are like my favorite people, because there's not that barrier to entry for me. Because when I talk to them, they hear me, and we're there's an understanding, and it's been a much harder journey in home service.
Hmm.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We definitely have a lot of women in this industry. We have a lot of men too.
Yeah.
I do think that for the longest time, people associated the most successful house cleaning companies with men. So,
Interesting.
and that was very common for a
Mm.
long time. I'm not sure that
Yeah.
that's the truth anymore, that there are a lot more
I
successful.
don't know if that was ever the truth in reality.
Yeah, it
But
was just a
It was yes.
yeah, it was just a thought, right? It was just the way,
I
and
think
people
men,
think it can
they
become true for people.
yeah, they tend to be more confident in the way they deliver information. For sure, there's a lot of people who speak very confidently, even when they don't know. They're like, "We're going to figure it out," but we're going to talk. I
Yeah,
mean, all my guy friends, that's how they talk. Women, we have been raised to be modest and humble, many of us, and that anything that's not that. So this is true. I have waited for years unconsciously for somebody to tell me I'm finally in, like somebody's going to hand me a certificate that says, "You're ready now. You're an expert. You can talk like one." And that I just found out that's never going to happen. There's not like a
I don't
department.
know. You just mentioned it, Melody. I have a feeling some certificates are
I
on
hope
their way
so.
to your mailbox.
I need it, because then I'll know that I'm ready to be, yeah.
Now you can do it then.
Yes.
Well, I I think that a lot of people do struggle with that sort of. Well,
Yes.
we think of it a lot as imposter syndrome, and
Mhm.
not necessarily just from being a woman, but being human too on
Yeah.
this planet. It's hard to it's sometimes hard to just get out there and have the belief in yourself that you are all that. Some people have it a little bit better, or they can fake it better than
Yeah.
some of us too. I'm not sure. But did you have something, Tom? You looked like you were taking that big breath, like getting
I'm
ready to say the thing.
oh, yeah. I'm trying to figure out what part of Massachusetts Melody lives in.
Western. So I'm 40 minutes from every state around me. Vermont, New Hampshire, Connecticut, New York, and Rhode Island, like an hour and something. But I can get anywhere. But guess what? I never go anywhere. I go to the airport and go somewhere else usually. But they're all beautiful states. So
Tom,
not
you're
near
so
Boston.
weird.
And I'm just
He's so weird, right?
I love weird.
Why
I'm
do you
weird.
like that? Yeah.
I
We're
love
gonna
it.
get along just great. Yeah.
Good.
and I don't know, it's just silly. I feel like I've been in home services for forever. I guess it's semantics, house cleaning, but there's this whole other world out there where
Right.
people are like cleaning windows and power washing and getting up on lift equipment and
Yeah. All the
I don't
things.
know. I
And
don't know
yard work.
anybody.
What was that?
Yard,
Yard.
Yard work, did you say?
yard work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's-
Lawns. Yeah.
And then there's the other leg of that, which is the actual trades, like the electric, plumbing, all those worlds.
Yeah.
So we've been very disconnected, I think, in terms of we kind of could all fall under the same kind of like, let's take care of your home label, but the industries are so disconnected. I don't know how house cleaning was, but the window cleaning or the world of where I was, home service, was the Wild West.
But you
for
say
so long.
that like all these other verticals are over here, and then you got house cleaning. Like house cleaning is not even part of all of these other services.
Interesting.
No, that's how he's hearing you.
That's how I'm
Oh.
hearing it.
Say
Yeah.
that, Melody.
Oh,
He's
no,
hearing you
no.
say
I'm
that.
saying that they're kind of all side by side, but we're so disconnected from each other's industries.
Right.
So like I went to
But you work with all those other verticals, but you're just
I do.
starting to meet some
Yes.
people in
Well,
housekeeping.
because our industry events are not the same. That's really what it comes down to. I've been going to industry events for like probably 15 years.
Like the
but
electricians don't go to the same thing that the landscapers or window washers go to, do
They're
they?
starting to, because it's more about business events now and less about tool. Like I used to care about tools. I was the best window cleaner in the world. And I focused very much on how good my tools were, how efficient I could be, all the inventions I could make. I just played games to make it more interesting, basically. I'm sure you guys do that in house cleaning as well.
Yeah.
And it was like a point of pride, because there's also like anybody who's ended up in home service. This is how I viewed it. A lot of times we didn't do very well in school. Not everybody, but this is what I've experienced with people. A lot of times we might have struggled or had a learning disability, which I did. I now know I have dyslexia, which I didn't understand before about myself. I learned it from my son when my son was diagnosed.
Mm.
And so we come out of school feeling like less than, but also we know we're really smart, but we have a chip on our shoulder. And it's like, I'll show the world that I'm smart. I'm going to start a business. Nobody can tell me that I can't do something. And we don't always fit into the main thing, right?
Yeah.
And so does that chip go away over time? Kind of. If you're really emotionally intelligent, maybe, but it's always kind of there, it always comes back. So that's what my experience in home service has been. I don't know about the cleaning industry, but what I've often also thought is, window cleaning and house washing, you can get much higher rates per hour than you could in house cleaning. And hopefully that'll change, because there's no difference in labor or anything. It's just people view it as like, oh, I could clean my house, even though we know that's not necessarily the truth, right? But
Yeah.
like a lot of women don't go into places like house washing or window cleaning. There's no way to enter those industries. So
Okay, so
Yeah.
let me see if I'm getting some clarity here. I
yes,
think I was stuck a little bit where Tom was stuck, and I think I might be getting it now. So when you are separating home services from house cleaning, the thing that is separating them is that there are more men that are like a much wider amount or a much larger amount of men to a percentage of men to women in
it's
home services.
99.5% men. I would
and
say.
and everything that is not house cleaning. So like
Yes.
window cleaning and house washing and all of that. So all of those things that are mostly men, you're calling house home services,
I'm and
right?
I'm doing that because I don't think of house cleaning, even though it is home service. I'm
Yeah,
thinking more in terms of you guys have like the ISSA, for instance,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And so I am a United States trade delegate. I don't know if you knew this, sponsored by the Italian government, because in
No,
2019, I went to the ISSA trade show in Italy.
Okay.
And the government paid for it. The Italian government did, and it was fantastic. And there was so much about cleaning there, and not just, and there was like some window cleaning, but really it was like all the industries.
yeah,
Here in America, I feel like our trades, their shows are very disconnected. It's not like the way that it is in Europe or other countries. So like I don't, do you have window cleaners go to like the ISSA really, or like, there's a lot of disconnection for the places that people are, not as much in the last 5 years. I think people start to recognize there's more opportunities when you learn outside of your own
yeah,
area.
yeah,
Does that make more sense?
ISSA is a really large, relatively large organization,
Yeah.
and it started out as the International Sanitary Supply Association, and it was like chemical manufacturers and their distributors. And then they kind of grew and they brought in building service contractors. 20 some odd years ago, a bunch of house cleaning businesses got together and started this thing called ARCSI, Association of Residential Cleaning Services International. ARCSI merged with ISSA, I don't know, what was it, half a dozen years ago, maybe?
yeah,
Um,
yeah. That
and there's
sounds
a handful of other associations that have merged in with ISSA over time as well.
Yeah. So this is all news. Like I'm very deep into I just call it home services because that's my background of how the industry that I'm in refers to it.
yeah,
They don't really refer to the cleaning industry. So that's something right there
yeah.
that
Separation.
it's interesting to think about, and it doesn't make sense, right? So the way that I've met people like Martha Woodward or other people is through going to a lot of events, joining networking groups where we go, and meet each other. So
Yeah.
that's how I've become more immersed in your world. And it's been like almost like something I didn't even know existed before maybe 2019 when I became an
Wow.
trade delegate. So you can call me a diplomat if you want to, though.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love that.
Yeah.
I knew that you went to Italy because you did share that small piece of your
Yeah.
story. But yeah, I didn't know that extent. It's interesting.
It was pretty fun. I did not belong there, you guys. Like, do you
I
know
think,
why? Yeah, do you know how I got into that trip? This is just it's very interesting. They sent out an email to a lot of people and it said, free trip to Italy. And does that sound like spam? Yes. But
Yeah, no kidding. No, I would
yeah,
delete that in a heartbeat.
yes. My friend Allison Hester is a writer. And so she had gone before as a writer for that. And she told me that's not, you have to apply for this. They need
not
people or else
spam.
they lose their funding. So a lot of people didn't go and they literally took me because I was a body who could go. And
And
so
didn't you only have like a week's notice or
it was like
something?
2 weeks or less. It was really quick. And
Crazy
I
amount
just,
of time.
it
Yeah.
was my dream to go to Italy. It was the one place I didn't go when I was younger, when I traveled through Europe, and I was like, I have to go. So bless my family for letting me do that without
All right.
fuss.
Well, I do love that you have this varied background here. So, talk to us a little bit, Melody, because the majority of our audience
Yeah.
is home services, house cleaning.
Yes. Now I'll call it all home services.
Subset of home services,
Yeah.
the house cleaning division.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like what should we know? Well, like what should our industry know about from your perspective, and you
Yeah.
have a different perspective, about what should we know about, hey Denise, I'll get this in here. Oh, Denise wants
I
to know.
agree,
Let's
Denise.
find out.
I
Yeah.
have it every 3 or 4 years, just so you know.
Yeah. reach out and find out, hey, do you need any more delegates
Yeah.
to go? But what should we know when we're looking for? So here's some of the things that I find.
Yes.
I work with my company is called Core Profit Builders, and it's a coaching company. I know you know a little bit about it, and I work with mostly residential cleaning business owners,
Yes.
and they need help.
Yes.
And they need to hire VAs, but many of them are afraid. Many of them don't know who to hire. They don't want to. They don't. It just seems so big and overwhelming.
Yes.
What can you give my folks over here?
Okay. Well, residential house cleaners are the same as, hi, Amber. Amber is a good friend. The same as residential work window cleaners, in that we go out, we do the work, and then we come home and spend all our time, if we're in the field, for instance, spend all our time on phone calls, emails. Like, I used to come home and I had a kid and, a family. And then I'd be like, sorry, guys, have to go spend 3 hours on emails, because that's the way it would. And it was never ending. And I didn't start with virtual assistants. I actually started by getting an office assistant, because when I had my office, because what I recognized is I will always procrastinate on phone calls. I will always procrastinate on certain things that I don't like doing because it causes me anxiety, and what I found is that I want somebody, it's worth a part of my salary. This is how I thought of it, to have somebody take that over, because then I cannot feel stressed, and that's worth a lot of money to me. What I didn't realize is that by hiring this person, I had to get a lot of things out of my head, like, how do we price things, how to make her as efficient as possible. Well, this person, her name was Tia, she paid for herself so quickly, because the other part of me is, if I meet you, like Tom, now we're best friends, of course, I meet you, I go to a job site and I'm going to give you a quote, and I spend 3 minutes with you. I'm like, oh, Tom's so nice. He's my best friend now. Like, I got to give him the friend discount. We give people who don't need discounts a discount.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Because of the emotion that when we care for people, we want to give. So I needed a buffer. I needed a customer buffer, an estimate buffer. So when I would go to houses after, I would say, I'm not allowed to do estimates because I'll give you the best friend discount and then I'll be out of business.
I barely know you. Yeah.
And just because, like, people get that. And then she would stick to the pricing, and suddenly we had so much more revenue coming in. And it was amazing. Very quickly, that one thing alone changed it. And then the second thing is that she took over all of those things. She took over the emails, the phone calls, and suddenly things were running much smoother. But it also was really hard to train her, because I didn't know how to train. We're really bad at training people. Like, we don't get taught how to train people usually. And if we do, if we invest in it, it might not be our natural way of being able to, it might not be natural for our personalities to be good trainers. And it's the same for technicians versus office people. So yeah, we make lots of mistakes with training. For instance, I used to spend a lot of time showing somebody how to write an email by showing them how to write an email as I wrote the email. What does that teach somebody? It teaches them nothing. So everything that I have designed into my company is based on the experience that my partner Dean and I wish had existed when we first started working together, because it was a lot of experimentation. And I'm really good at this. We're very successful because we teach people all of the things that they're worried about. We take care of it. We help them through it. We are always providing a level of support, taking them. I've thought of all of the things that people are going to maybe not do because they procrastinate on things that seem like it's going to be a lot of work, and I trick them into doing it. I say that to them, like, I'm going to trick you by giving them fake deadlines or doing things that are going to make whatever that person needs, because we can usually see what they need. We're going to figure it out. And bring me back to your original question. People are scared usually of how to bring somebody on.
Yeah, and when and how to do it, and how do they get the right choice, and
We
You
do,
know,
yeah.
the whole
So
thing.
there's a lot of different companies. I'm never going to say, like, I'm a very much a collaborate, not compete kind of person.
Mhm.
Every company that's out there is doing something that's valuable and good. Like one of my friends uses Taskaway and she likes it a lot. And so I know that there's a lot of different companies that do different things. What I'm really good at is I help people who normally would struggle with this sort of thing, or even if they just don't want to, they don't have the emotional energy to go through this process. I help them go through it the fastest way possible.
Okay.
And I would love to give you a quick example, if you don't mind, of
I
how
love that.
Yeah,
okay.
please.
So
Yeah.
my idea is that I want to teach people how to train themselves. I want to teach employees how to train themselves whenever possible. So I'm going to use email as an example because it's my favorite one, and it shows you how I think about things very quickly. How do you train somebody to take over your voice, take over your emails, know all the things that you know in your head when you're sending out emails, use your voice? Well, if you're really high level, you'll make some templates for them. And then, but what templates do is they just teach people to copy paste something. They don't teach them to think, or they don't teach them how to learn more about how you would respond. There's no critical thinking involved in that. So what I have people do is they go, if they're going to take over for me or for any of my clients, I advise that they start by deep diving into the email. And if you're smart, you're going to tell them the main kinds of emails that you tend to get. So they have like at least a point of, they at least know what to kind of look for. So let's say like a new client or a new prospect request, or a client has a question or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
They're going to start to look for those common types of emails. They're going to see how you respond, what your tone is, how you are, you friendly, are you professional? They're going to get all of that. And they're going to create the templates out of those things that they find. Every time they see a question that's been answered, it's going to become an FAQ template. Every time they see a problem that's been solved in an email, it's going to become a troubleshooting template. It's also going to get into their brain, right? It's going to, they're learning actively. So the next part is they're going to give you all these templates and you will not touch them, although it's really hard. I still struggle to remember that I don't have to do it. And I have people, I give them permission to remind me by saying, Mel, let me do this. Like it happened yesterday. But I'll look at the templates and I make a Loom video very quickly. And I teach everybody how to do this. I say, these templates look great, but I'm going to go through right now and I'm going to tell you what needs to change and why it needs to change. And that's what I do. They take it back, they make the changes, and you go back and forth until you have pretty good templates. And at that point, aren't you going to trust them to start drafting your emails for you?
Yeah.
Do you
Right?
just let them loose in your mailbox and
Yeah.
say, here are all of my sent emails, start reading?
Yes, I'll go back to that after, because I know that trust and security are a very difficult thing, and I'll go to that.
And the next thing, they're not coming to work because they have a free trip to Italy.
Couldn't they do that if they were in your office, though?
Sure.
Yes. So the next part of that drafting, they're going to draft and you're going to do the same thing. If their email is ready to go, you'll just say send. If it's not, you're going to make a quick Loom and you're going to say, hey, this is great, but I want you to just make a couple changes and here's why. They're actively learning and it's taking you almost no time. You're doing almost nothing. And then once they're about 80 to 90% good on their drafts, where you're like, they're really good. And the rest of the time, they're asking you the right questions, or they're saying, hey, I think you need to respond to this directly, or what do you want me to say? Aren't you going to trust them completely to send your emails? So that's how, and it can take less than a week to have
I
somebody,
will.
right?
I don't know that Tom would, but I absolutely would.
I have had people come into us. I love challenges because I love people who, I'm an old school person, by the way, 30 years in an industry. I have that old school mindset of like, there's certain things that I fight against all the time.
Yeah.
So I love it when I can find a client, and they're usually high level people who, and I want to say names, but I won't, who come in and they do the thing. And then they're like, it kind of changes
Come
things.
on, Melody, give us a name.
I'll tell you after. So yeah,
It's just us.
Yeah, just
No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
That wasn't me trying to say that you're one of the people, Amber. That was me accidentally hitting your name.
Oh,
Amber's not one of the people.
You're not.
Amber's my longtime industry buddy. She knows. So yeah, so it's really cool because every way that I create systems is about letting grown-up adults do the job that you hired them for. What usually happens, we are micromanagers, right? We tend to, as business owners, think all of our hard-earned knowledge. Oh, hey, Sean. I love Sean. He's the best.
Everybody loves Sean.
Yeah.
What's not to
Um,
love? He's awesome.
he and I, like, we're the same thing like that. I love people who have that same mentality, and he definitely is on the same page.
Yeah, he really does. Definitely a collaborator.
And
Yeah.
so, like, what does it do when we bring somebody on board and we think we own all the information in our head, right? We had to learn this the hard way. And so we automatically sometimes think everybody has to learn it the hard way. So they can't possibly learn it so much quicker than we had to. So even with software, Tom, I was just telling this to, I say this to all my clients. People learn Made Central up to the level, the software can do this much. They learn it up to here, just enough to get them going to do the daily things, right?
yeah.
How often can they go back to really take the time to learn it? It's so hard. We have so many things. And then they learn up to here, and then they teach people up to their level of knowledge. And then that person's always bumping up against their level of knowledge. And then this person gets annoyed and they feel like this person doesn't know how to do anything because we're inside our brain. What I teach people is don't be the middleman here. Have them go and learn from the software company. This is what the software company does. And you guys have that admin training, I see.
Yeah.
All
and so, videos and
yeah, I just saw that yesterday. And I was like, that's super smart because a lot of companies don't have that. And my company, we go and we find all the videos that we can to help train people, to help train people's VAs. We have a whole list, and every time that's what we do. We take the list and we put it in a training plan. And what we say is do not train your VA. Don't make software training videos. Let them learn. And then when you come to them, they're going to have that base level of knowledge that you can come in and you're already at a similar level of understanding instead of starting from scratch. And it's going to make you trust them a lot quicker. Again, I'm all about trust as quickly as possible. And it's going to allow you to see that they're competent. They're going to get it really quickly.
Yeah. Or they're not.
Or they're not.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's not
good info.
Well, it's not because they're like stupid, or it's because a lot of times we don't communicate the same way. So like my husband speaks English and so do I, but he speaks man and I speak lady. And those two seem to go like this a lot of the time. And that can happen in a work relationship too. You can end up working with a VA that might not communicate the same way that you do. And it's frustrating because you're like, a lot of people take ownership, like extreme ownership, and they think, oh, I have to do better. I have to train them better. It might never work. That's how I view it.
Yeah.
Because it'll just be bumping up against something. I mean, my husband and I have been married for 14 years. It's working. But I'm very cognizant, and so is he, of those differences in how we communicate, how we take it.
Yeah. So true. Communication struggles are huge. You have to be aware of them. And you have to work with them, or they can derail you if you're, if you're not doing that. So
I'm sitting here wondering, if I'm looking for a VA, how do I know if it's a good fit? How do I know if we can do this or communicate?
If you're doing it on your own, I won't speak from the agency view, but if you're doing it on your own, I would say one of the good ways that you could figure out is to have everybody do the same tasks. Like maybe make a video of something and if you're going to interview people, have them do the same task and see how they approach it, how long it takes them to get it back to you, something that's going to be a metric that you can judge. And then the other thing is, so what I know about myself, what I've learned is that because of my ADD sparkly brain, I talk really fast. My brain is moving fast. I have to get the stuff out or else I'll forget it because there's more stuff that needs to come in. And to write, I type much slower than my brain thinks. And I used to try to type out instructions to people, and I would be so frustrated because I couldn't get it out fast enough. And I'd just kind of give up and hide under my blankets. And I just didn't want to deal with it. When I realized that, oh, if I voice memo things to people,
Yeah.
instantly my brain can do what it needs to do. And the person can translate that information into and be able to say, like, this is what I heard. Is this accurate? And what I have in Slack is a channel called Mel's Brain. And everything that goes into that Slack channel is all the things that are from here. And what my assistant does is she takes all of those things. Some of them are like, I need to write a book on this subject, but my dog also needs a hair appointment. And don't forget that I have to be on this podcast tonight. And I need to make sure that I get this piece of equipment it's like all the things are always in our entrepreneurial brains, but it goes in there. It's not urgent. It's not like the things that are going to be an emergency level, but it's things where she can put it on my master list, or she can put it in my calendar, or she can make the appointment for me. And then I know that it's gone somewhere and that something's happening with it. And she reports back to me. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah. So one thing that you said that I love, Mel, is that so I like to verbally tell people what to do, but I like them to
Right.
write it to me.
Yes.
I want to read the thing. So I need people to work with me who like to hear it,
Yes.
but want to type it out.
Yes. And that's me. I didn't even get to that part. I hate listening to voice memos because people talk too slow. And I can read really quick. I can skim. So with my dyslexia, I didn't realize I'm like, my whole life I've been trying to read, but I've always been skimming. But it's okay because now I can get the main points very quickly. So my goal is to be the least amount of frustrated in my daily life as possible, and the most in my sparkly, visionary, creative brain, doing the deeper work that is actually really, really hard to do. So even when people get VAs, they think they're going to get time back. That's a lie. Everybody, I lied to you. It does save you time. But if you're like me and you're a recovering workaholic like I am, you are always going to put new things in that busy and stay
So
busy.
it's not really saving you time. It's just expanding your ability to do work.
I usually say compress time. This time I said save time. But yeah, that's what it is.
Changing what you spend your time on.
Yes.
Your ability to focus in on the things that matter.
Yes.
So like Tom, I think you really like to get things in writing so you can see all the detail and you can see all of the stuff, and you can look at it in depth.
And I forget stuff too. And so whenever I ask somebody to do something for me, it's like, send me an email with what it is that I just asked you to do.
And so that's very interesting. I onboarded a new executive assistant about 2 weeks ago. My former assistant is now the social media manager because her weird brain matches mine, and I needed her to be weird on the internet for me so that we have that presence. And she's the best. But what with the new assistant,
best at being weird.
Best at being relatable to people in a very fun, weird way.
In your way.
Okay.
In my way.
Yeah.
I call it weird. It's just me. I'm me. Zoe, who's doing social media, she's Zoe. Like if
unique.
you authentically
use the word unique.
Yeah, I'm not somebody who has the energy like to do fakeness. Like I can't pretend to be something that I'm not. And that's all I want to be is just more me, if possible, if people can handle it. And Zoe's like that too. She's just her. She's Zoe. And so I'm like, this is the right role for you.
Good enough.
But with my new EVA, she likes to get things written. We didn't realize this in the beginning until we started doing my trainings this week and I started talking about it. Oftentimes, the very things I train people on, we're moving so fast in my company, I don't do them because, again, I make systems and I don't follow them all the time. So it was great. I brought her into this training and we realized she's not the right person for me. We're always going to have a struggle. She's very, very good, but she likes things written and she likes to write it back. Like she likes that. And so it's going to be a struggle. We use energy for everything. She is a great, very smart person. And I'm going to rematch her through our agency with a client, but I need somebody who wants video, who wants looms and voice memos so that they can And so I actually found somebody. And the reason why I usually wouldn't switch so quickly, it's because I'm having surgery and I'm going to be out of work for about a month and a half. So I don't have the time I normally would to train somebody.
So this is what I'm hearing, Melanie, is that the one of the first places that people should look is, how do you like to communicate?
Yes.
So however you like to communicate, be looking for someone who likes to receive information the way you like to give it, and who likes to give information in the ways that you like to receive it.
Yes. And it's hard to think like that if you've never thought about it before. It took me.
Yeah, but knowing that that's
Huge.
one of the very first things, I think that's great. I think another thing that is, go ahead, Tom. I can see.
No, I mean, I guess that really applies to everybody in terms of figuring out who you can work with.
Yes.
How do you like giving information, and how do you like getting it back?
Especially anybody in your office, right?
Yeah. Can you adjust? Because I don't want to adjust. I want to be as true to myself and use energy only for other things that are meaningful or going to grow things. If I'm using that energy up with communication on a day-to-day basis, it's just draining.
I don't want people adjusting, because you don't get their best when they're adjusting them or
absolutely.
You, right?
Yes. And so that's one thing, when people work with us, we take full ownership over the hire. We give you one person that we have actually searched for, the right person for the role and for what your experience is. We use DISC as a way to integrate communication and figure out how can these two people communicate to the best as quickly as possible. So we use a lot of tools, and my team works really hard to get people through the funnel. It's actually, they're too stringent. I'm changing our system right now. Because I'll look at people, I'm like, why did we say no to these people again? And so it's something that's interesting. We get really our funnel, you're really good. But if you don't make it with the client, the quicker we can figure that out, the better. Because it's not usually that they're a bad VA. It's just the communication. I have a process very quickly that can show you if somebody's working for you, and anybody can use this. So what you want to do is, anything that you create for training, every time you do something in the office, make a video on Loom for everything. Just as you're doing the thing, make a video, explain it as you go. And it's a screen recording so they can see it. If you want to talk about, for instance, something that is not on a screen, still make a video, talk about it. Because what you want that person to do is create a process sheet, very simple document that they're just going to write in bullet points what they heard you say. So you want these trainings to be very short, 5 minutes or under, sometimes 10 minutes at most. If 8 out of 10 of those process sheets that they wrote are like, oh, that makes total sense. Yes, they understand what I'm saying. But 2 of them, I missed something because they need more context. Or I realize now you're going to take ownership because you trust that they understand the majority of what you just said, right?
If they got 8 out of 10.
Yeah, they got 8 out of 10 of the process sheets written correctly, and they understood you. You're going to think, oh, it's me. I need to change something.
Yeah.
But if 4 out of 10 or 5 out of 10 were not like, they're like, what did they watch?
No.
That's quickly how you can see a red flag for communication.
We're going to be pressing up on top of the hour here before we know it. So, I'm kind of curious. I'm sitting here thinking, what are all the things that I could use a VA for? Give us some just highlight examples of why would I want a VA, or if I'm actively running a house cleaning company, what are things that VAs could do for me?
So there's 3 different kinds of VAs we really focus on. It's a general assistant, kind of like a CSR or an office manager. If it's somebody who's really small, it would be like an office assistant, office manager. They can do everything for you. They can run your entire office. They just can't sweep your floor or get your mail. Literally anything that anybody in your office can do, they can do. And it's all about learning your systems. And if you don't have systems, I have systems that I give people, or you can make a training video that says, hey, I don't have a system for this, but we need one. Bring me back 2 or 3 ideas of how other people do this so that we can make a decision on it. That's a training video right there. We don't have to have all the answers. And so that's a general role. It could also be you have an office manager who's not be able to focus on the things that they're best at. They might be best at talking to clients and, checking in on them and creating relationships, but they're doing data entry all day. Or maybe they really suck at phone calls and you want somebody in there who's better at it. So you can have a VA come in and do that. For sales, a lot of times salespeople are really, really good at selling things and really, really bad at paperwork or anything else. And so imagine what you could do for your salesperson, how much more effective they could be.
So
if
is
they
sales the second type of VA?
Yeah, sorry, that's the second type. Yeah, and so there is some level of selling if they're doing phone calls as a general CSR role, right? If you operate that way. But the second one is fully focused on sales. It could be cold calling. It could be because Filipinos have so many call centers with well-trained people who have learned how to sell. And
in your business, you've mentioned the Philippines a couple of times. Is that
absolutely,
kind of your specialty, is
it is.
sourcing VAs
And
from the
and
Philippines?
here's how it's going to be different. No, every single person thinks, I don't want to sound like a call center. No, they're not going to sound like a call center, and here's why. They're going to learn everything about your business. They're going to learn everything about the way that you do work. I want them to watch my technician training videos so that they understand what we do. And then they're going to make a map. They're going to learn your area, everything about your area. They're going to make like a map of your area. They're going to talk about the culture and all of the things, like a 5th grade geography project.
So I do want to get to the third thing, but I don't want to leave this one because
Yeah.
Tom, I know you want to get that third thing. But I don't want to leave this one.
Okay.
And I also want to make sure that you hit on the language. I know a
Yes.
lot of people are concerned about, I don't want somebody from another country. They're, we're going to have this language barrier thing.
No. So Filipinos learn Americanized English in school because apparently we were in the Philippines long ago and now and they love America. I was there last year, very Americanized culture, and they speak very good English and they're very, very polite.
Was there an ISSA event there?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'll have to see if I can
have to go there.
get a ride.
You had to pay for that trip. Okay. Never mind.
It was to meet with my team, but so it's a culture where people are like the perfect type of employee. Can you find good employees right now? I believe you can, but Americans have other dreams too. And so the world can be our employment pool right now, especially for office roles. So they're never going to sound like a call center because they're going to learn everything about what you do and who you are. The third type, Tom, how many businesses do you have right now? 2?
We'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Close enough.
Anybody who has more than one business, who has other things, needs an executive assistant. You need somebody in your life to manage. So what my executive assistant did for me is they brought me all of the things that I needed to know about each of the businesses.
So that's number 3.
That's the third one.
That's the third one.
And there are a lot of different kinds of VAs. We focus on these 3 because they're the most important that we know we can do well. And that executive assistant, what I call mine is the melody manager, because I don't want to manage somebody. I need a manager. I need somebody to manage me. And so the one thing about the Philippines is that people in the Philippines, the culture is the boss is here, the employee is here, when really as Americans, we want more of this usually. We want somebody who's on our team, right? And so that's what we really have issues with, is giving a lot of permission to make sure that they understand that they're a part of a team and that we want to collaborate. So they do speak a really excellent English. They're known for their English skills.
I have heard this. That's why I wanted to hear it from someone else, because I have heard this, but I'm like, what does that mean? I know that people are still afraid of this.
I'm going to send you, I'll link a voice test that I have for different voices to this podcast, this episode, so that people can hear it in the comments. So yeah, different voices.
All right, well, Tom, we got our 3, and I know you want to share, at least try and get Melody's, her website up there. We're getting really tight on time now.
Yeah.
Golly day. I wanted to show ISSA's got events in all of these places.
Ooh, exciting.
Oh, wow.
May of 2023, if we want.
That's the one. That's the one I went to.
That's where you went to?
It was so
good. There you go, Denise, if you want to go.
Yeah.
There you go.
But it passed us by, didn't it? It says 2023.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Oh wait, it's 2025 now, but we can
Got to update.
Talk
can
to
start
the
we can start saving money.
oh no, they'll pay
Got a
for
year.
it.
You got
Oh,
another
that's
year.
right.
If
Danita,
you
I'm
get on the
dropping
list, if you get on the list, they
Don't
pay.
do
Danita, I'm
that.
dropping the link in chat so you can like start researching and get your application in early.
Yeah. I would love it if that actually happened. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah, no kidding.
Denise, reach out to me and I'll tell you exactly how it worked, and who you might be able to reach at the Italian embassy or consulate about it. So this is what we do. So our language on our website is still about our recruiting service because we're phasing that out. We are fully an agency now that because I want ownership over the roles that our company gives. I want ownership over the training that we provide and the support that a VA gets and the benefits they get. Because one of the things is a lot of problems happen when a client is not at good maybe as the management side of things, and we don't find out until it's too late. So taking ownership over this allows us to have a much more consistent service. We have like about between an 82 and 86% success rate on our first time matches.
Wow.
And if we have, that's huge for our industry. That's a big deal. For our second time matches, if we don't get it right, people are imperfect. It's not always perfect, but second time we're in the high 90s.
Wow.
And if they need to go to a third time, sometimes it's not us. Sometimes it might not just be the right client for us.
Yeah,
Right.
I get that.
Yeah.
Well, we all deal with that, right?
Yeah. I'd love anybody to reach out to me on Facebook Messenger is my favorite. Friend me. I have a women's group called the Business Misfits. If you're a purpose-driven, generous, giving, a giver in this world, and you want to be surrounded by like-minded women, it's my group. So it's a private group, but you can ask to join. No jerks allowed.
And that's actually how I had met you for the first time, Melody, was through the Business Misfit.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I knew about you when I met you in
It's a
real life.
secret club.
Yeah.
I dropped the URL to your website, Melody, in
Thank
the chat, so everybody could get that. And I have to say, it was a pleasure meeting you. I had a lot of fun today.
I did too. I mean, you let me talk a lot, so thank you. That was fun for me.
We're friends now, and if
We are.
another time, if you were giving me a quote to clean my windows, I'd probably get a deal.
You'd be
Yes,
expecting
you would
it.
have.
Yeah.
Would have gotten the best deal. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, Melody. I really appreciate you coming on here today and, just giving us a little bit more education. I really love that you broke it down with these 3 areas that you really do well. So highly recommending anybody that needs a VA in one of those 3 areas, or if you don't know that you need a VA, but you're struggling in one of those 3 areas, guess what? You do. So
Yeah.
get in
Well,
contact.
I'm always willing to talk. It doesn't have to be about us. It could be just helping them find the right way to go about it. So
Nice.
And if you're curious, I think it would certainly at least be worth a discussion. And go to Melody and hit her up in Facebook Messenger and learn a little more.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Are we going to be back next week, Liz?
I will not be here, Tom, but you will be, right?
Oh, I'm here. Yeah, I'm solid. I think
I'm going to be in Florida next week. I'm doing a business ride along for a week.
Okay. Yeah, I'm solid. I'll be here next Wednesday, 5:00 Eastern with Smart Business Moves. You guys
Bye, y'all.
have a great week.
Bye.
Thank you, Melody. Bye-bye.
Bye.